Thank you. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're signing in from. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be in what I think is one of the last few sessions of this India Science Festival. It's really fun for me. I'll introduce myself briefly and then briefly the other panelists. More personal introduction because I think they're all very well-known personalities. I'm Tarun Khanna. I'm a professor at Harvard for the last 30 odd years. Very interested, of course, in science and technology policy. I'm joined today by three colleagues and friends, Professor Venky Narayanamurti, who is a sort of mentor to me at Harvard and really an eminent scientist, as well as a very successful administrator at the university in a variety of guises. Dr. Renu Swarup, who was secretary of DBT, and I had the privilege of working with her in many initiatives. And I must say she was a great support to many of the things that we tried to do in India, both whether it had a private sector lens or a public sector lens. And my friend Kris, Gopalakrishnan, co-founder of Infosys and chairman of Axilor Ventures. We're both working on Axilor for the last 7 or 8 years. So that's been a fun journey also. So it's really great to be here with all these friends. So we'll go to Venky, maybe Venky 5-6 minutes, and then Kris, and then Renu.
Thank you very much, Tarun, for this kind introduction. If you look, India obviously has had islands of excellence since my young days. I mean, I started my career as a graduate student under K.S. Krishnan, and Raman and Krishnan are famous physicists, Satya Bose. So India has had islands of excellence comparable to the best in the world. But there has never been the kind of critical mass which is necessary today. Second, if you look at science and technology, much of it, the public support has been because of economics. The industry, and it goes back to its roots of the Industrial Revolution and the invention of the steam engine. The laws of thermodynamics happened because you wanted to make better steam engines, not the other way around. We must understand, in my time, the transistor happened because we were interested in building an amplifier and in fact, to also understand the physics of it, and they happen simultaneously. You don't separate research into basic and applied. There's no such thing. Research is about the unknown.
And thanks to FAST and India Science Festival for giving me this opportunity. I always say that for every $5 spent in the US, if $1 is spent in India, we can double the research output because more number of people can work alongside with these people, and we can double the research output. Different perspectives, again, hopefully will solve the problem. We represent 20% of the world's population. Again, that's very important in areas like healthcare, climate change, etc. So there are many reasons why India should actually contribute to science and technology. Top down, we need to look at ease of doing research. We always talk about ease of doing business. I think very similar initiative has to happen in ease of doing research. We need to make icons of our scientists, just like we are making icons of our entrepreneurs. We need to, and that's what we're trying to do through Infosys Science Foundation Awards and things like that. We need to make sure that it's lucrative for scientists, and a lot of scholarships, a lot of research funding is now happening. That is increasing, but we need to increase funding into research, both from government, but more importantly from private sources. Industry and philanthropy must contribute, and we must attract global funding for research. The lesson from the startup industry is that we are attracting significant amount of global funding into the startup ecosystem. Why can't we do that in the research ecosystem? I strongly believe that India can contribute.
Tarun, and good morning and good evening to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here as part of this wonderful discussion that we are having, that what is the Indian S&T really going to be or contribute in the next decade. And as my fellow panelists have said, there is huge potential for India to contribute over the next decade. And how do we say that? We say that because we really have to look at what has been the growth trajectory of the Indian science over the last few years. So if you look at it, I think it's important first to understand how have we actually fared in the last few years. And when I say about how have we fared in the science in terms of each of the parameters, which is so important and crucial, what really has been our investment into the science? Has that really grown over these years? What is the key capacity that we've built, both in terms of human resource and infrastructure? Where do we actually stand in terms of the innovation? I mean, we're talking about a lot of science, but is there innovation that's happening that would allow India to be a leader in science, or is it just going to be a follower and take on generics and other aspects to that? And more importantly, where are we really looking at the quality of our scientific outputs? I rightly said, Venky, where is our critical mass? Do we actually have that critical mass to move on?